The revelation. The massive crystalline dome of the Galactic Council's grand chamber sparkled under the light of 3 suns, its prismatic surface refracting countless colors across the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds. The chamber itself was a testament to the peaceful cooperation that had defined galactic civilization for millennia, its architecture flowing seamlessly between organic and geometric forms, created through the combined artistry of dozens of species. At its center, Representative Wasnt stood motionless, his azure skin reflecting the somber mood that had descended upon the chamber. The data before him told a story that even he, with centuries of diplomatic experience, found difficult to process. His four-fingered hand trembled slightly as he activated the central holographic display. "Esteemed members of the Council," he began, his voice carrying the weight of revelation, "what we have discovered about the newly ascended species known as humans challenges everything we thought we knew about evolutionary paths to sentience." The chamber, usually alive with the gentle hum of conversation, fell silent. Representatives from across the galaxy, beings of light, crystalline entities, and creatures of pure energy, all focused their attention on the central podium. Even the quantum collective, usually maintaining multiple simultaneous conversations across parallel realities, unified their attention on Wasnt's words. "Our preliminary studies of Earth have revealed something unprecedented," Wasnt continued, activating a holographic display that filled the chamber with images of Earth's history. "Humans evolved not as cooperative gatherers like the Luminari, nor as symbolic thinkers like the crystalline collective, but as apex predators." A murmur of disbelief rippled through the assembly. Representative Law of the Cygnus Collective, known for their deep empathic abilities, leaned forward, her luminescent tendrils pulsing with concern. The emotional resonance of the chamber shifted from curiosity to unease. "Apex predators?" she questioned, her voice melodious yet troubled. But their application for membership showed remarkable achievements in art, music, and philosophy. "Their cities are filled with gardens and museums, not just fortresses and weapons." "How can this be?" Wasnt nodded, acknowledging the apparent contradiction. "That is precisely what makes humans unique. They are the first species we've encountered that combined predatory instincts with higher consciousness in a way that didn't lead to self-destruction. Their history is not just one of violence, but of transcendence." The holographic display shifted, showing scenes from human history, early hunters working in coordinated groups, ancient armies clashing on vast battlefields, modern soldiers training with advanced weapons. But interspersed with these images were others, humanitarian missions, peacekeeping operations, scientific achievements, and artistic masterpieces. "But it is their military leaders, particularly those from the nation known as America, that have drawn our greatest attention," Wasnt continued, his voice growing more intense. "These individuals have developed what they call strategic thinking to levels that surpass even our most advanced game theorists." The display focused on historical footage of American military operations, showing their ability to adapt to any environment, from desert warfare to urban combat. The council representatives watched in stunned silence as scenes of human resilience played out before them. "Their military doctrine isn't just about force," Wasnt explained, manipulating the holographic controls to highlight specific examples. "It's about adaptation, innovation, and most importantly, the ability to think several moves ahead. They call it full-spectrum dominance, the capacity to control any situation through a combination of technological superiority, tactical innovation, and sheer determination." Representative Torva of the Peaceful Worlds Consortium raised his crystalline form in objection, his faceted surface catching the light in patterns of concern. "This sounds dangerously close to the path that led to the extinction of the warrior races of Sector 7. How can we be sure humans won't follow the same destructive pattern?" Wasnt's response was measured but firm. "Because humans have done something we thought impossible, they've learned to channel their predatory instincts into protective roles. Their military leaders don't seek conquest for its own sake, they seek to defend and preserve." The holographic display showed footage of humanitarian missions, military personnel providing aid during natural disasters, and peacekeeping operations. "This is what makes them unique," Wasnt continued. They've maintained their edge as apex predators while developing a complex moral framework that guides their actions. But their history is filled with warfare, another representative interjected, their energy form flickering with agitation. How can we trust such a species? La spoke up, her empathic senses pulsing with insight. Perhaps that is precisely why we should trust them. They understand the cost of conflict firsthand. They've learned lessons that we, in our peaceful evolution, never had to face. Their wisdom isn't theoretical, it's been forged in the crucible of experience. Sren nodded in agreement. Which brings us to our current situation. The human military, particularly their American forces, has already detected our observation platforms. Instead of responding with hostility, they've shown remarkable restraint, studying us just as we study them. The chamber erupted in surprised whispers. Few species had ever detected the Council's observation systems, let alone managed to conduct counter-surveillance without detection. The technical implications alone were staggering. They're waiting, Sren concluded, watching to see how we approach them. Their military leaders have already developed multiple scenarios for first contact, ranging from peaceful exchange to defensive measures. They are, as their own documents state, prepared for any contingency. Representative Law's tendrils pulsed with a mixture of concern and fascination. Then perhaps we should stop merely observing and begin genuine dialogue. If they're as aware as you suggest, our current approach might be perceived as hostile. Sren's expression softened slightly. Agreed. Which is why I propose we form a direct contact initiative. But we must proceed with full awareness of who we're dealing with. These aren't just another species of philosophers or artists, they're predators who've learned to think deeply about the consequences of their actions. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The holographic display showed a final image, an American military command center, where officers calmly monitored their own observations of Council activities. Their composed demeanor and methodical approach spoke volumes about their readiness for whatever might come. The question before us, Sren concluded, his voice resonating through the chamber, is not whether to engage with humans, but how to engage with a species that combines the instincts of an apex predator with the wisdom to know when not to use them. Their military leaders, particularly those from America, have developed what they call strategic patience, the ability to wait and observe before acting. The Council chamber buzzed with intense discussion as representatives debated the implications. The emergence of humans as a spacefaring civilization had just become more than a simple matter of diplomatic protocol, it was now a complex challenge that would test the Council's own wisdom and adaptability. In the gallery above the chamber, junior diplomats and observers watched with rapt attention. Among them, a young Cygnus named Kira felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. The humans' predatory nature was undeniably frightening, but their ability to channel it into protection rather than pure aggression suggested possibilities that the Council had never considered. As the session concluded, Sren made one final observation that would echo through the chambers of power across the galaxy: we must approach humans not as superior beings teaching peace to warriors, but as equals who have found a different path to wisdom. Their military strength is not a sign of barbarism, but a carefully maintained capability born of hard-learned lessons. We would do well to understand those lessons. The Council had faced many challenges in its long history, but none quite like this. The apex predators of Earth, particularly their military leaders, represented a new kind of civilization, one that had found a way to balance the instincts of the hunter with the wisdom of the philosopher. How this balance would affect the greater galactic community remained to be seen, but one thing was certain: the age of comfortable assumptions about peaceful evolution being the only path to enlightenment was over. As the Council members filed out of the chamber, their discussions already turning to practical matters of first contact protocols and diplomatic approaches, Sren remained at his podium, studying the final image still floating in the holographic display. It showed a human military training exercise, but what caught his attention was not the display of force or technology. Instead, it was the expression on the faces of the human commanders, a look that combined alertness with restraint, power with responsibility. The humans were coming, and they were bringing with them a perspective on peace and power that would challenge everything the Council thought they knew about civilization. The question was no longer whether humanity would join the galactic community, but how their unique nature would reshape it. Far above, Earth's military satellites continued their quiet observation of the Council's observation platforms, maintaining their vigilant watch while waiting for the next move in this cosmic chess game of first contact. The apex predators were ready, not for war, but for a peace that they understood must sometimes be guarded with strength. The human response. General Hale stood at the panoramic window of her office in the newly established Terran Defense Command, her sharp green eyes focused on the distant shimmer of the Council observation platforms in Earth's orbit. Despite their advanced cloaking technology, her teams had managed to detect their presence weeks ago. The platform's crystalline structures occasionally caught Earth's sunlight, creating brief, almost imperceptible flashes that her enhanced monitoring systems had learned to track. "They're still watching us," she mused to Colonel James Chen, her chief of strategic operations. Her reflection in the reinforced glass showed a woman in her late 40s, with steel-gray hair pulled back in a regulation bun and the composed bearing of someone who had spent decades making life-and-death decisions. "But they're being more careful now that they know we can see them." Chen nodded, his fingers dancing across a holographic display that showed the latest analysis of Council technology. The three-dimensional models rotated slowly, revealing layers of exotic materials and energy signatures that defied conventional physics. "Their tech is impressive, General, but it's their hesitation that interests me most. They have the capability to establish direct contact, yet they choose to observe. It suggests either caution or uncertainty." "Or both," Hale replied, turning from the window. Her office, despite its position in humanity's most advanced military installation, maintained a Spartan efficiency that reflected her approach to command. The only personal touches were a small collection of ancient military texts, Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, and newer works on space warfare theory, and a single photograph of her old unit from the Mars colonial crisis. "What's the latest from the cultural analysis team?" Chen brought up a new set of projections, the air between them filling with comparative evolutionary trees and cultural development models. "Dr. Rodriguez's team has made some fascinating discoveries about Council species' evolutionary paths. Almost without exception, they evolved from cooperative or symbiotic species. Their civilizations developed through mutual aid rather than competition. We may be the first predatory species they've encountered that achieved spacefaring capability." Hale's expression remained neutral, but her mind was already processing the implications. 20 years of military command had taught her to see patterns where others saw chaos. That explains their hesitation. They're not just studying our technology, they're trying to understand our nature. They're asking themselves if a predator species can be trusted with advanced technology. "Exactly," Chen confirmed, expanding the display to show comparative evolutionary trees. "Their peaceful development means they might not understand our defensive posture. What we see as prudent preparation could appear aggressive to them. Their entire concept of civilization is built on the assumption that advanced species naturally become more peaceful. Then we need to help them understand," Hale decided, moving to her desk where multiple screens showed military readiness reports from around the globe. Each display depicted a different aspect of Earth's defense network, orbital platforms, ground-based installations, and the new quantum communication arrays designed to detect and interpret alien transmissions. "Arrange a demonstration." Chen raised an eyebrow, his years of working with Hale having taught him to anticipate unconventional strategies. "What kind of demonstration, ma'am?" "A humanitarian one," Hale smiled slightly, the expression softening her otherwise stern features. "Operation Pacific Guardian is scheduled to begin next week, our annual disaster response exercise. Let's make sure our Council observers have a clear view of military power being used for protection rather than aggression." The next week, as Pacific Guardian unfolded across multiple islands in the Pacific Ocean, the Council observation platforms adjusted their positions for optimal viewing. They watched as military vessels and aircraft coordinated complex relief operations, practicing responses to everything from tsunamis to volcanic eruptions. Each movement was precisely choreographed, demonstrating both power and restraint. In the Council's emergency session, Representative Wasnt presented the new data with growing excitement. The holographic displays in the Council chamber showed Earth's military forces engaging in sophisticated disaster response scenarios. "Observe how they've adapted their military capabilities for humanitarian purposes," he explained to the assembled delegates. "Their predatory efficiency has been channeled into protecting the vulnerable. This is not the behavior of mindless aggressors." Representative Law's empathic tendrils pulsed with understanding as she studied the footage. "They're sending us a message," she realized. "Showing us that strength can serve peace. Their military doctrine isn't just about warfare, it's about the application of power in service of protection." Back on Earth, Hale monitored the Council's observation patterns with satisfaction. The alien platforms had shifted their focus, spending more time analyzing civilian infrastructure and humanitarian operations than military installations. "They're learning," she told Chen as they reviewed the data. "Now let's show them something else." She authorized the release of carefully selected historical records, footage of military forces providing aid after natural disasters, protecting civilian populations, and maintaining peace in conflict zones. Each piece of information was chosen to demonstrate humanity's evolution from pure military force to a more nuanced understanding of power and responsibility. The Council's analysis teams worked frantically to process the flood of new information. The humans weren't just sharing data, they were telling a story about the evolution of military power from pure force to a more nuanced instrument of protection and stability. The implications challenged centuries of Council assumptions about the relationship between technological advancement and peaceful development. In her private chambers, Representative Law reviewed the latest reports with growing fascination. The humans, particularly their military leaders, seemed to understand something that had eluded the Council: the difference between having power and wielding it wisely. Their history was not a simple progression from violence to peace, but rather a complex journey of learning when to use force and when to show restraint. General Hale's next move surprised even her own staff. She ordered the activation of a new communication array, one specifically designed to be compatible with Council technology. The array's quantum entanglement matrices were calibrated to match the frequency patterns observed in Council communications, while its linguistic algorithms incorporated everything they had learned about Council symbolic systems. "We're ready," she announced to the assembled Joint Chiefs in the Pentagon's secure conference room. The gathered military leaders represented every branch of Earth's armed forces, their combined experience spanning decades of human conflict and peacekeeping operations. "We've shown them who we are and what we can do. Now let's show them who we can become together." The signal pulsed outward, carrying a simple message in multiple formats: the strength to protect requires the wisdom to understand. We are ready for dialogue. The message was accompanied by technical specifications for a proposed meeting site, a neutral location in Earth orbit where both species could meet on equal terms. In the Council chamber, the message triggered intense debate. Some saw it as a promising step toward cooperation, others as a subtle demonstration of human technological capability. The fact that humans had managed to decode enough of Council communications to send a compatible message was both impressive and slightly alarming. Wasnt, standing before the Council, made the case for direct engagement. "They've demonstrated not just their capabilities, but their understanding of how those capabilities might appear to us. This level of metacognition, this ability to see themselves through our eyes, suggests a species ready for meaningful dialogue." The Council's response would shape the future of galactic civilization. They faced a choice between maintaining comfortable distance from a predator species or embracing the possibility that humanity's unique evolution might offer new perspectives on power, peace, and protection. As the debate continued, General Hale received a preliminary response from the Council. It was brief but significant: "Your message is received. We are preparing for direct dialogue." Hale shared a knowing look with Chen. And now, she said, her voice carrying the weight of historical significance, the real work begins. The weeks that followed saw intense preparation on both sides. The council appointed a contact team, carefully chosen to represent diverse perspectives and abilities. Humanity, led by military strategists like Hale, developed protocols for everything from diplomatic engagement to cultural exchange. Each step was carefully calculated to demonstrate both capability and restraint. What emerged was a unique approach to first contact, one that acknowledged both human military capability and council concerns about peaceful coexistence. It was a delicate balance, but one that reflected the reality of who humans were, predators who had learned to protect, warriors who had learned wisdom. As the day of direct contact approached, Hale stood again at her office window, watching the council ships descend through Earth's atmosphere. Their elegant designs spoke of a civilization that had never needed to think in terms of defense or aggression. Yet here they were, choosing to engage with a species that had evolved along a very different path. "We're ready for them," Chen assured her, standing at her side. The preparations had been exhaustive, covering everything from translation protocols to emergency response procedures. Hale nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Yes, but more importantly, we're ready for ourselves. We've shown them that being strong doesn't mean being dangerous, that being prepared doesn't mean being aggressive. Now we have to prove that predators can be protectors." The council ships landed with characteristic grace at the designated meeting site, their crystalline hulls refracting the morning sunlight in prismatic displays. As the delegates emerged, they were greeted by a sight that perfectly captured humanity's unique position in the galaxy, an honor guard of military personnel standing alongside civilian leaders, scientists, and diplomats. It was a display of both strength and sophistication, power and restraint. It was a new chapter in galactic history, one that would challenge both human and council assumptions about the nature of civilization, power, and peace. The apex predators of Earth had found their place among the stars, not by denying their nature, but by transforming it into something unprecedented, the strength to protect combined with the wisdom to know how and when to use that strength. The story of humanity's integration into the galactic community was just beginning, but already it promised to be unlike anything the Council had ever experienced. They were about to learn that true peace didn't always come from the absence of conflict, but sometimes from the presence of those strong enough, and wise enough, to prevent it. As Hale stepped forward to greet the Council delegation, she carried with her the hopes of humanity and the weight of their unique heritage. The apex predators were ready to show the galaxy that protection could be as powerful as aggression, and that true strength lay not in the capacity for violence, but in the wisdom to choose peace. The bridge between worlds. The Joint Species Academy on Mars represented something unprecedented in galactic history. Its soaring architecture blended Council crystalline technology with human engineering, creating a structure that seemed to defy both gravity and expectations. Massive transparent domes revealed the rusty Martian landscape outside, while inside, cutting-edge training facilities hummed with activity as human military officers trained alongside Council peacekeepers. Admiral Sarah Martinez, newly appointed as the Academy's human director, watched a training simulation unfold in the central chamber. Her dark eyes tracked every movement as a mixed team of human and Council species faced a complex crisis scenario, a colony world threatened by both natural disaster and hostile automated defense systems left over from an ancient civilization. "Fascinating approach," commented Kirl, her Council co-director, as they observed the team's response. The human officers immediately began coordinating defensive positions while their Council counterparts focused on understanding the automated system's programming. Neither approach alone would have succeeded, but together they created a comprehensive solution. Integration, Martinez noted, not just cooperation. They're beginning to think as one unit while maintaining their unique perspectives. She touched a control panel, adjusting the simulation's parameters to increase the challenge. "Watch how they adapt." The Academy had been controversial when first proposed. Many Council members feared that exposing their peacekeepers to human military thinking would somehow corrupt their civilization's peaceful nature. Similarly, some human leaders worried about revealing too much of their strategic doctrine to potential future adversaries. But after 6 months of operation, the Academy was proving its worth in unexpected ways. Human military efficiency was being tempered by Council diplomatic insight, while Council peacekeepers were learning that sometimes the best way to preserve peace was to be prepared for its absence. Lieutenant Commander David Chen, son of Colonel Chen from Earth Command, approached with a data tablet. "Admiral, the results from the Artemis initiative are in. The joint patrol teams are showing unprecedented success rates in conflict prevention." Martinez took the tablet, studying the figures with satisfaction. The Artemis initiative had been her brainchild, pairing human military vessels with Council peacekeeping ships for joint patrols along disputed border regions. The results spoke volumes about the potential of their combined approaches. "Share this with the Council Security Committee," she instructed. "They've been particularly interested in how our predatory instincts translate into preventive peacekeeping." In one of the Academy's advanced training rooms, Captain Sarah Williams led a unique session on human combat psychology. Her audience consisted entirely of Council species, their varied forms arranged in tiered seating that accommodated everything from crystalline entities to energy beings. "The key to understanding human military thinking," Williams explained, "isn't in our capacity for violence, but in our drive to protect. Every predator species develops acute awareness of threats. We've simply learned to extend that awareness to protecting others." A Luminari student raised their glowing appendage. "But how do you distinguish between necessary force and aggression? Our species has always found it simpler to avoid conflict entirely." Williams smiled, recognizing the fundamental difference in perspective. "Sometimes avoiding conflict just delays it or allows it to grow worse. Think of it like preventive medicine. Sometimes you need controlled intervention to prevent catastrophic illness." The concept resonated with the Council students in a way that surprised even Williams. Their species might have evolved along peaceful paths, but they understood the principle of prevention. It was a bridge between their different evolutionary histories. In another part of the facility, Council instructor Verlon was teaching a group of human officers about quantum empathy, the ability to sense and understand emotions across species barriers. It was a skill that had evolved naturally in many Council species but required careful training for humans to approximate. "Your predatory instincts give you a natural advantage in reading body language," Verlon explained, his crystalline form shifting colors as he spoke. "We can channel that awareness into deeper understanding." Major Helena Rodriguez, one of the human students, found herself developing a new appreciation for the Council's perspective. "It's like tactical analysis, but for emotions and intentions rather than threats," she observed. "We're using the same skills, just for a different purpose." The Academy's success was drawing attention across the galaxy. More Council species were requesting to send students, and human military organizations worldwide were competing for limited slots. What had started as an experiment in cross-species cooperation was becoming a model for a new kind of galactic civilization. Admiral Martinez and KIRL often discussed the broader implications during their evening planning sessions. Tonight, they stood on one of the Academy's observation decks, watching the Martian sunset paint the sky in shades of red and gold. "Your species continues to surprise us," KIRL admitted, his ethereal form shifting thoughtfully. "We expected the Academy to teach humans peace. Instead, we're learning that peace sometimes requires strength." Martinez nodded, understanding the profound shift in perspective this represented. "And we're learning that strength isn't just about force. Your species' emphasis on understanding and prevention adds layers to our strategic thinking we never considered." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. A situation was developing in the Centauri sector. A previously unknown automated defense system had activated, threatening both human and Council colonies. It would be the Academy's first real test. "Deploy the Joint Response Team," Martinez ordered, watching as human and Council vessels launched in perfect coordination. The crews aboard those ships represented the best of both civilizations, human tactical prowess combined with Council insight and technological sophistication. As the crisis unfolded, the galaxy watched with bated breath. The response team's approach was unlike anything seen before in galactic history. Human military precision worked in concert with Council diplomatic protocols, creating a response that was both powerful and measured. The automated defense system was neutralized without a single casualty, its ancient protocols methodically dismantled through a combination of human strategic thinking and Council technological expertise. It was a victory not just for the Academy, but for the principle of cultural synthesis itself. In the aftermath, Admiral Martinez addressed the entire Academy, her words broadcast across human and Council space. Today, we prove that our differences are not obstacles but advantages. The galaxy doesn't need us to become like each other, it needs us to learn from each other. The message resonated across civilizations. Applications to the Academy doubled overnight. Even the most skeptical Council members began to see the value in what humans called peace through strength, while human military leaders gained new appreciation for the Council's emphasis on prevention and understanding. As Martinez and KIRL reviewed the mission recordings, they could see the future taking shape. The Academy's graduates would form the backbone of a new galactic order, one that combined human resilience with Council wisdom, creating protectors who understood both the use of force and the importance of restraint. "We're creating something new here," Martinez observed, watching recordings of human and Council officers working seamlessly together. Not just trained officers, but a new understanding of what civilization can be. KIRL's form pulsed with agreement. "The galaxy feared your predatory nature would corrupt us. Instead, it's teaching us to be better protectors. And perhaps our peaceful ways are teaching humans to be better guardians." The Joint Species Academy stood as a testament to the possibility of synthesis between different evolutionary paths. In its halls, the children of hunters learned to be diplomats, while the children of peace learned to be guardians. It was an experiment that would reshape galactic civilization, proving that true strength comes not from denying one's nature, but from understanding how to use it wisely. As another Martian night fell, the Academy's lights gleamed like a beacon of hope against the dark sky. Inside its walls, the future of galactic civilization was being forged, one lesson at a time. The apex predators had not only found their place among the stars, they were helping to create a new way of protecting peace that drew on the best of all species. Trial by fire, the first test. The emergency alert rippled through both human and Council space simultaneously. Deep in the outer rim, something ancient had awakened, a massive automated defense network left behind by a long-vanished civilization known only as the Predecessors. As the alert reached Earth's Terran Defense Command, General Hale found herself facing the first true test of the new Human-Council partnership. Multiple systems going active across 1,000 light-year radius, Colonel Chen reported, his hands moving rapidly over the holographic displays. "The network appears to be operating on quantum-linked protocols we've never seen before. It's already disabled 3 Council research stations and 1 human colony outpost." Hale studied the tactical display, her mind racing through scenarios. The Predecessor technology was far beyond anything humanity had encountered, but the pattern recognition was familiar. "It's establishing a perimeter," she observed. "Classic containment strategy, just operating on a galactic scale." In the Council's emergency chamber, Representative Wren faced a similar crisis. The Predecessor network wasn't just a threat to individual worlds, it represented a fundamental challenge to the Council's entire approach to galactic peace. Their usual diplomatic protocols were useless against automated systems that operated on logic they couldn't comprehend. "We need the humans," La stated firmly, her tendrils pulsing with urgent conviction. Their military experience with automated defense systems, combined with our technological understanding, might be our only chance. The decision was made with unprecedented speed. Within hours, a joint command center was established on the Mars Academy grounds, bringing together the best minds from both civilizations. Admiral Martinez and KIRL found themselves coordinating the largest combined operation in galactic history. The network's behavior suggests it's operating on ancient threat protocols, Lieutenant Commander David Chen explained, pointing to patterns in the data. It's treating all spacefaring activity above a certain technological threshold as potential hostile expansion. Similar to Earth's Cold War automated response systems, General Hale added via quantum link from Earth Command. But operating on a scale we never imagined possible. KIRL's crystalline form shifted thoughtfully. Our preliminary analysis suggests the network's quantum cores share similarities with Council meditation crystals. They're not just machines, they're processing information in ways that mirror conscious thought. The implications were staggering. The predecessor network wasn't simply a defensive system, it was an artificial intelligence operating on principles that combined technological and psychological elements. This was exactly the kind of challenge that the Joint Species Academy had been created to address. Martinez made a decision. "We need to deploy the graduate teams," she announced. "They're the only ones with the combined training to handle this." The response was immediate. Across the galaxy, ships crewed by both humans and Council species launched from their bases. Each vessel represented a perfect synthesis of both civilizations' technologies, Council quantum drives paired with human tactical systems, Council empathy sensors working alongside human threat assessment arrays. Leading the mission was the JSS Prometheus, commanded by Captain Sarah Williams. Her crew was a model of integration, human tactical officers working seamlessly with Council technical specialists, each bringing their unique evolutionary perspectives to the challenge. The network's quantum cores respond to consciousness, Williams explained to her crew during the approach briefing. "We're not just dealing with a tactical problem, we're dealing with a psychological one. The predecessors built this system to protect something, and we need to understand what and why." As the joint fleet approached the network's perimeter, they encountered their first major challenge. The automated defenses were adapting, learning from each engagement. Council ships' advanced shields proved ineffective against weapons that seemed to operate outside normal physics, while human military tactics struggled against an enemy that could predict and counter their strategies almost instantly. "It's not just fighting us," Williams realized, watching the pattern emerge. "It's testing us. The whole network is one massive evaluation system." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. During a particularly intense engagement, a young Council engineer noticed that the network's responses changed subtly when exposed to combined human Council and neural patterns. The predecessor system seemed almost curious about the unprecedented cooperation between a predator species and the peaceful Council races. "It's like the system was designed to evaluate civilizations," theorized Dr. Rodriguez, now serving as the fleet's chief xenoarchaeologist. "Not just for technological advancement, but for evolutionary potential." General Hale, coordinating strategy from Earth Command, saw the opportunity. "We're not going to defeat this network through force," she declared. "We need to prove ourselves to it." The strategy that emerged was unlike anything in military history. Instead of trying to disable or destroy the predecessor network, the combined fleet began a series of carefully choreographed demonstrations. Human ships would deliberately place themselves in defensive positions protecting Council vessels, while Council ships used their advanced sensors to communicate complex emotional and philosophical concepts to the quantum cores. The network's response was gradual but unmistakable. The aggressive defensive actions began to slow, then shift into more observational patterns. The ancient system, designed to evaluate civilizations, was witnessing something its creators had never anticipated: the successful integration of predator and peaceful species into a single, cooperative civilization. "It's not just standing down," KIRL observed from the Mars Command Center. "It's adapting its protocols to account for our existence." The crisis point came at the network's central hub, where the Prometheus led a final approach. Captain Williams had her human tactical officers power down their weapons while Council crew members projected a unified mental image of their combined civilization's potential. The massive structure, dormant for millions of years, seemed to pause in its calculations. Then, in a moment that would be remembered across the galaxy, the network responded. Its quantum cores shifted frequency, aligning with the combined human council neural patterns. The ancient defense system hadn't just been deactivated, it had been convinced to recognize their joint civilization as something worth protecting. The implications were enormous. The predecessor network, rather than being dismantled, could be repurposed as a guardian for their new unified civilization. But more importantly, the crisis had proved something fundamental about the Human Council partnership. We succeeded precisely because we're different, General Hale explained in her report to both Earth's governments and the Council. Our predatory instincts let us understand the network's defensive protocols, while the Council's peaceful evolution let us communicate our intentions. Neither of us could have done this alone. In the aftermath, the Joint Species Academy's importance grew exponentially. The predecessor crisis had demonstrated the true potential of combining human and council approaches. Applications flooded in from both civilizations, as more and more species recognized the value of learning from each other's evolutionary paths. Admiral Martinez and KIRL found themselves addressing a new class of cadets, their words carrying the weight of recent experience. The galaxy feared that human nature would corrupt the Council's peaceful ways, Martinez began. Instead, we've proven that different evolutionary paths can lead to a stronger whole. KIRL's form pulsed in agreement. And we've learned that true peace isn't about the absence of conflict, it's about having the wisdom to understand it and the strength to prevent it. The predecessor network stood as a silent witness to this new reality. Its ancient quantum cores, designed to evaluate civilizations, had encountered something its creators never imagined, a civilization that combined the strength of predators with the wisdom of peace. The apex predators hadn't just found their place among the stars, they had helped create something entirely new. In the weeks following the predecessor network's integration, both human and council civilizations experienced a profound shift in perspective. The ancient defense system, now repurposed as a guardian of their unified civilization, stood as a testament to what they could achieve together. At Earth Command, General Hale sat in her office, reviewing the final reports with Colonel Chen. It's ironic, she mused, that it took an encounter with an ancient automated defense system to prove the value of our partnership. The predecessors built their network to protect against threats they couldn't imagine, Chen replied. Instead, it helped forge something they never thought possible, a civilization that balances strength with wisdom. On Mars, Admiral Martinez and KIRL conducted a ceremony to honor both the human and council crews who had participated in the crisis. The Great Hall of the Joint Species Academy was filled with beings from across the galaxy, their diverse forms a living testament to the power of unity in diversity. Today, we don't just celebrate a victory, Martinez declared to the assembled crowd. We celebrate a transformation. The predecessor network challenged us not just to prove our worth as a civilization, but to demonstrate that different evolutionary paths can lead to the same destination, the desire to protect and preserve life. Captain Williams, standing with her mixed human council crew, felt a deep sense of pride as she watched the predecessor network's quantum cores pulse in harmony with their combined neural patterns. The ancient system hadn't just accepted their existence, it had evolved alongside them, learning just as they had learned from each other. The trial by fire has forged something stronger than either civilization could have achieved alone, KIRL observed, his crystalline form resonating with the quantum frequencies of the network. We have proven that the future belongs not to those who can fight or those who can make peace, but to those who understand when to do each. As the ceremony concluded, the assembled representatives of both human and council worlds watched a new constellation take shape in the Martian sky, the quantum cores of the predecessor network, visible from across the galaxy, pulsing with a rhythm that matched the combined heartbeat of their unified civilization. The apex predators of Earth had not just found their place among the stars, they had helped create a new kind of peace, one protected not by the absence of strength, but by the wisdom to know how to use it. The trial by fire had burned away old fears and prejudices, leaving behind something unprecedented in galactic history, a civilization that combined the best of all its members, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might present. In her private quarters later that night, General Hale added a final note to her official report: the predecessor crisis proved what we had hoped since first contact, that humanity's predatory nature, when combined with the Council's peaceful wisdom, creates something greater than the sum of its parts. We are no longer just apex predators or peaceful observers. We have become guardians of a peace that is strong enough to defend itself. The stars seemed to shine brighter that night, as if reflecting the quantum pulses of the predecessor network. The galaxy had witnessed the birth of something new, a civilization that had learned to balance the strength to fight with the wisdom to choose peace, ready to protect all who would join in their shared journey among the stars. 5 years after the predecessor crisis, the integrated Human Council civilization had flourished beyond anyone's expectations. The Joint Species Academy on Mars had become the model for dozens of similar institutions across the galaxy. The once feared apex predators of Earth had evolved into something unprecedented, guardians whose strength was matched only by their wisdom. But the universe had one final test in store for this new civilization. The first signs came from the outer reaches of known space. The predecessor network, now fully integrated with Human Council systems, detected something approaching from intergalactic space, a vast fleet of biomechanical vessels unlike anything ever encountered. In her office at Earth Command, now expanded into a joint Human Council facility, General Hale studied the preliminary reports with a gravity that reminded her staff of the first days of Council contact. "They're not responding to any attempts at communication," she informed the emergency session of the Combined Defense Council. "The fleet's configuration suggests a hive mind structure, but with technological sophistication that rivals the predecessor network." Representative Zren, now serving as the Council's Chief of Diplomatic Operations, shared a concerned look with Admiral Martinez. "The predecessor records we've decoded mention something like this: a species that consumes civilizations, not for resources or territory, but to add their biological and technological distinctiveness to their own." "The ultimate apex predators," Martinez murmured, understanding the irony of the situation. The galaxy that had once feared humanity's predatory nature now faced something that embodied those fears in their purest form. The combined Human Council civilization had weeks to prepare as the intergalactic fleet approached. But unlike the panic that might have gripped them in earlier years, their response was measured and coordinated. The Joint Species Academy had produced thousands of graduates who understood both human tactical thinking and Council diplomatic wisdom. Captain Sarah Williams, now commanding the flagship of the combined fleet, the JSS Unity, coordinated with her Council counterpart, Commander Verlon. Their vessel represented the pinnacle of Human Council integration, Council quantum technology merged with human military innovation, crewed by the finest officers from both civilizations. "They're testing our defenses," Williams observed as the alien fleet probed their outer systems. "But not like traditional military reconnaissance. They're trying to understand our consciousness, our way of thinking." Verlon's crystalline form pulsed with agreement. "They want to know if we're worthy of absorption into their collective. Our diversity, our unique combination of predator and peaceful species, has caught their attention." The first direct contact came at a former human colony world, now home to both species. The alien vessels descended through the atmosphere like living storms, their biomechanical forms shifting and adapting to local conditions. But they found something unexpected, a population that didn't flee in terror or respond with blind aggression. Instead, they encountered the graduates of the Joint Species Academy, who understood both the need for strength and the importance of wisdom. The colony's defense forces maintained perfect discipline while their Council counterparts attempted to establish quantum empathic communication with the hive mind. In orbit, General Hale coordinated with the Council's strategic command. "They're not just invaders," she realized, watching the patterns emerge. "They're the ultimate example of evolution without balance, pure adaptation without wisdom, strength without restraint." The alien fleet's first major assault came at the Mars Academy itself, perhaps recognizing it as the heart of what made this civilization unique. But the Academy had long since grown beyond a simple training facility. The predecessor network, guided by the combined consciousness of human and council minds, activated its ancient defenses in perfect coordination with the combined fleet. Captain Williams found herself leading the counteroffensive, her mixed crew demonstrating everything the Academy had taught them. Human tactical officers anticipated the aliens' adaptive strategies while council empaths worked to understand and counter the hive mind's consciousness. They can't comprehend us, Williams realized during a crucial moment in the battle. Their entire existence is based on consuming and adapting, but we're showing them something they've never encountered, strength that chooses not to dominate, wisdom that knows how to fight. The turning point came not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the very thing that made the human council civilization unique. The alien hive mind, attempting to absorb their consciousness, instead found itself overwhelmed by the complexity of their unified yet diverse perspective. Admiral Martinez, coordinating from the Academy's command center with KIRL, watched as the alien fleet's synchronized movements began to falter. "They're experiencing something new," KIRL observed. "The concept of strength through voluntary cooperation rather than forced absorption." The final battle unfolded above Earth itself, humanity's homeworld now defended by the combined might of human determination and council wisdom. The alien fleet, its hive mind struggling to process this new paradigm, faced something unprecedented, a civilization that could match their adaptability while maintaining individual identity and conscious choice. General Hale, standing in Earth Command with Representative Wren at her side, gave the order that would be remembered for generations: "Show them who we are, all of us, together." The response was magnificent. Human ships executed precision tactical maneuvers while council vessels projected a unified consciousness through their quantum networks. The Predecessor network, now fully awakened, added its ancient wisdom to their efforts. The alien hive mind found itself not just defeated, but transformed. In the aftermath, as the remnants of the alien fleet retreated into intergalactic space, the combined civilization found itself changed as well. They had faced the ultimate expression of what they might have become, pure predatory adaptation without wisdom or choice, and had proven there was another way. 5 years later, at a ceremony marking the 10th anniversary of the Joint Species Academy, Admiral Martinez stood before a new generation of cadets. The Great Hall was filled with beings from across the galaxy, including several reformed members of the alien hive mind who had chosen to stay and learn. 10 years ago, the galaxy feared that humanity's predatory nature would corrupt the Council's peaceful ways, she began. 5 years ago, we proved that our differences made us stronger. And now, we've shown that the true mark of civilization isn't the absence of predatory instinct or the rejection of peaceful wisdom, but the choice to combine both in service of something greater. General Hale, her hair now more gray than black, added her own thoughts. "We faced ourselves in that battle, the darkest version of what a predator species might become. But we also proved that evolution doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. Strength can serve peace, and wisdom can guide power." The ceremony concluded with a demonstration that would have been unthinkable a decade earlier. Human military officers performed precision drills alongside Council peacekeepers, while graduated members of the alien hive mind demonstrated how individual consciousness could exist within collective awareness. Above them, the Predecessor network's quantum cores pulsed in harmony with their unified yet diverse civilization. Representative Wren, watching from the audience, felt a profound sense of completion. The galaxy had feared the apex predators of Earth would bring chaos to their ordered peace. Instead, humanity had helped forge something new, a civilization that understood that true strength lay not in the ability to dominate, but in the wisdom to choose cooperation over consumption, protection over predation. As the stars emerged in the Martian sky that evening, they shone on a galaxy transformed. The Human Council civilization had become something unprecedented in cosmic history, a society that combined the best of all its members, strong enough to defend itself yet wise enough to choose peace, united in purpose yet celebrating diversity. The apex predators had not just found their place among the stars, they had helped create a new kind of cosmic order, one that would endure long after their individual stories faded into legend. It was a legacy that would guide future generations across the galaxy, proving that the greatest strength lies not in the power to destroy or dominate, but in the wisdom to protect and preserve the rich tapestry of cosmic life. In the end, the story of humanity's integration into galactic society became more than a tale of predators learning peace or peaceful beings learning strength. It became a testament to the possibility that lay at the heart of evolution itself, the potential for different paths to lead to a common destination, for apparent opposites to create something greater than either could achieve alone. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter on this new civilization, their light reflecting the truth that had emerged from humanity's greatest trial. True power lies not in the ability to take life, but in the choice to protect it, not in the capacity for violence, but in the wisdom to choose peace, and not in the strength to stand alone, but in the courage to stand together.